Hello. Hi. How are you? John Solo here. We're working on something fun this week. I've been starting to work for an author named Annie Moon. Annie has hired me to do a series for her called Obedience, and I'm working on book 1. But it's kind of weird with this one because I think it's book 5. It's The Christmas Wedding. I did that a few months ago, which is actually the last book in the series, but it's a Christmas story, and it came out a little after Christmas, and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, we're starting back at the beginning now, and we're rolling through them. If you are into BDSM, daddies, littles, actually, if you're into that sort of thing, this is fantastic. You're going to absolutely love it. The author's great. This is a Storytime episode, so what you're going to see is me actually working on the audiobook. You'll hear mistakes. You'll hear my lovely assistant Tracy jumping in and correcting me. You'll hear the occasional off-colored joke. You get the idea. Hope you all enjoy. Have fun. Love you. Peace. Chapter 7. Luca. Fuck, I was inside Hard Limit, the hottest, most lavish dungeon in the state, and I was inside their gilded walls. I was there only, it gaves as. I'm watching you. They see your every move. Private eyes, they're watching you. Private eyes, they're watching you, watching you, watching you. No one knows any of the other words, but that dungeon in the state, and I was inside their gilded walls. I was only there. Dungeon in the state, and I was inside their gilded walls. I was there only as Gabe's guest until the vetting process was complete, but shit, I still felt like a goddamn prince, and I got to wear the green bracelet that signaled me available for play. I want to make sure this matches. Chapter 2. Luca. Gabriel and I were friends from the day I walked into England, and I got to wear the green bracelet that signaled me available. Yep, we're good. And I got to wear the green bracelet that signaled me available for play. I was in the main area, aptly named Libation, since the highlight of the room was a massive semicircular bar. Constructed of dark oak, stained and waxed to a high shine, the design was a masterpiece of ornately carved panels, decorative corbels, and brass inlays. Ornately carved panels, decorative corbels, and brass inlays. Small seating areas outside the ornately carved panels, decorative corbels, and brass inlays. Small seating areas around the outside. Two trailer park girls go around the outside, around the outside, around panels, the outside. Decorative corbels, and brass inlays. Small, carved panels. I was still thinking about Eminem. Carved panels, decorative corbels, and brass inlays. Small seating areas around the outside perimeter were complemented with etched glass panels to allow light in, yet give the occupants maximum privacy. As with the wood panels, the windows were ornate, large, and intricate in pattern. A band of bold mosaic flooring that ran under the bar stools caught my attention for its resemblance to the tiled counter that used to be in my family's bakery. Brooke was like, I'm fucking out of here. Peace. For its resemblance to the tiled counter that used to be in my family's bakery. My euphoria tanked with the guilt that still riddled me from having to close for the failure that I was. That was until the bartender's husky voice cut through my thoughts. I must not have heard what he said the first time because he leaned closer across the bar and asked, Hey, gorgeous, you okay? Hey, gorgeous. Hello. I must not have heard what he said the first time because he leaned closer across the bar and asked, "Hey, gorgeous, you okay?" I tore my gaze away from the mosaics, but it took a moment to meet his fixed look. Sorry, I'm fine, I stammered. What do you have, then? Rum and Coke, please. I opened the screen on my cell phone to the QR code for the bartender to scan. Thanks, gorgeous. Be right back with your drink. I looked around the big hall, which was slowly filling up. Gabe had explained that small groups gathered in different rooms that circled the main area. Each room was a dedicated space for the fetish it was named after. There was the doctor's office, the pergola for silk rope skills, the temple of pleasure for free play, the interrogation room for bondage, the glory hole was for men only, and there was a space called the crib for littles and middles to congregate and play. Elements was where the main stage was set, 5 steps above the floor. A heavy wooden St. Andrew's cross took up the center under the soft glow of low-hanging ceiling pendants and wall sconces strategically placed to catch the perfect angles for watching a main scene. Smaller and less formidable dungeon equipment such as swings, spanking benches, and mobile saltires were positioned among a variety of sofas, lounges, wing-back chairs, ottomans, side tables, and an array of multicolored textured throw pillows. Despite the enormity of the club, there was an intimacy about the surroundings which made me feel safe. A rightness about being there I hadn't experienced anywhere else, or with anyone, except for Gabe. Except with Gabe. I did this last time. A rightness about being there I hadn't experienced anywhere else, or with anyone, except with Gabe. Usually I felt on the outer edges of my life, as if I wasn't really living it. There, amongst the smell of hardened leather and whipped bodies, I belonged. The bartender brought my drink. First time? I smirked. How can you tell? By the dazed look on my face? The bartender... How can you tell? By the dazed look on my face? The bartender chuckled. Yeah, something like that. I'm Angel. Let's do it cool. Like Harrison Ford cool. By the dazed look on my face? The bartender chuckled. By the dazed look on my face? The bartender chuckled. Yeah, something like that. I'm Angel. He extended his hand and I took it. I'm Luca. I figured. How? Ever since you toured here with Gabe Knight, the subs have been buzzing about which dom will pick you up for a contract. As he spoke, he cleaned a couple of empty glasses and wiped down the bar, then tossed the damp rag over his shoulder. I stared at the black leather-braided collar bound by a gold padlock. He raised his hand to the lock and clasped it in his hand. My mistress collared me in a ceremony last month. How long have you been together? 3 years. We did 2 6-month contracts, and then one for 2 years. And now... He sighed and smiled shyly. Permanent. And now... He sighed and smiled shyly. Permanent. I sighed. Oh, so sweet. I'm happy for you. For anyone who finds their forever person. Angel. Oops. This was... I'm happy for you. Yeah, I think I made him the Polani voice. I'm happy for you. For anyone who finds their forever person. I'm happy for you. For anyone who finds their forever person. Angel. I'm happy for you. For anyone who finds their forever person. Angel. A man raised his empty glass. Angel's head snapped in his direction. Yes. I keep on losing the voice. The man raised his empty glass. Angel's head snapped in his direction. "Yes, sir, coming right up." He slapped the bar top and said to me, "See you later," before sprinting down the length of the bar. I'd just brought my drink to my lips when I heard the alto timbre of, "Hello, Deacon," before he came around the corner of the bar and into view. Marco. I slunk down and turned away from where the voice came from, then dropped my head between my shoulders. I knew I'd see Marco here eventually, but I'd hoped it wouldn't be so soon after running out of his office. I'd even checked with Gabe, and he'd assured me Marco didn't usually show up on Wednesdays. Wrong, because here he was. Marco didn't usually show up on Wednesdays. Wrong, because here he was, in all his leather gear, skin-tight pants, biker boots, wrist cuffs, and a harness ornamenting his bare, muscular chest. The man looked hotter than sin. He took an empty seat at the bar next to Deacon, one of the dungeon monitors. A broadly built Hawaiian, Deacon's body mass belied his identity as a sub and a pup, a reminder that not all submissives could automatically be categorized as twinks. Not all submissives could automatically be categorized as twinks. Just like Gabe didn't elicit the image of a stereotypical dom with his eyeliner and lip gloss. I leaned forward and snuck a peek at Marco. He was in the throes of a hearty laugh, a display so infectious that I giggled. I clamped my hand over my mouth just as the three people who separated me from him vacated their seats, which left me in full view. The laughter so evident and his expression flatlined, and just a random forehead. Vacated their seats, which left me in full view. The laughter so evident in his expression flatlined and his forehead creased, causing his brows to draw together. I wanted to jump off the stool, bolt from the room, and not stop until I was out of the club and in a taxi heading back to Gabe's. But I remained frozen, caught in the intensity of his gaze. My hand was still raised near my mouth. Remained frozen, caught in the intensity of his gaze. My hand was still raised near my... Remained frozen, caught in the intensity of his gaze. My hand was still raised near my mouth, as if I was about to take a swallow from my drink. Frazzled and unsteady, when I attempted to set the glass down, the condensation caused it to slip out of my grip, and it hit the hard wooden surface with a loud crack. The dark liquid splattered my face and the front of my shirt, a see-through crop top, before rolling across the polished bar in thin rivulets. Fucking shit. Angel jogged over as soon as he heard the ruckus and handed me a clean towel. "Here, before that stains your top. Looks cute on you," he said as he mopped up the mess on the bar. Thanks. I took the towel and wiped my face, as much to block the threatening tears of embarrassment as to dry it off. As I dabbed at my wet shirt, I said, "Sorry about this." I shook my head. It slipped right out of my hand. Angel paused what he was doing to make eye contact, and I appreciated the sincerity I saw. "Dude, accidents happen. No sweat." Just then my shoulder dipped to the weight of a large hand, and I saw Angel's eyes dart upward. He straightened immediately. "Good evening, Master Marco." "Hello, Angel. I see you're helping our new member here. Thank you." "Of course, sir," Angel said. "Can I get you anything?" "Thank you." "Of course, sir," Angel said. "Can I get you anything?" "Water, please." Angel reached under the bar to the mini-fridge, took out a bottle of ionized water, and handed it to Marco. Marco put a $5 bill in the tip jar. With his hand still on me, he said, "Look at me, boy." I peered up at him from under lowered eyelashes. "Are you all right?" "Yes, fine, sir." He stared at me as if he was assessing my bearing, as if he didn't quite believe I was fine. I trembled under his touch, yet when he released his hold, my body reacted by instinct and lilted toward him. his hold, my body reacted by instinct and lilted toward him. I caught myself and went rigid. Could I be any more of a needy loser? I rubbed the nape of my neck. And went rigid. Could I be any more of a needy loser? I rubbed the nape of my neck. Marco scanned the room. Where's Gabe? He's not here. He was still at work when I left. He raised an eyebrow at me. At work? You came by yourself? Sometimes I need help, but yeah. At work? You came by yourself? I nodded. Words, boy. I shuddered at the dominating tenor in his voice. Yes, sir. He dropped onto the stool next to me, and although his tone of voice didn't soften, his eyes did. Why, Luca? Coming to a dungeon for the first time is daunting, even for people who have been in the lifestyle for years. I tried to turn away, but he caught my chin between his thumb and forefinger and held it firm. Answer me, boy. The reason for my behavior at any given moment in the dark were erratic. Well, it's a D. And held it firm. Answer me, boy. The reasons for my behavior at any given moment in the day were erratic at best. At that moment, with him staring at me with midnight blue intensity, I lost all train of thought, and with it the very air in my lungs. Marco rubbed circles on my back with his free hand, without ever relinquishing his grip on my chin, making me stay in place. Breathe, boy. I inhaled deeply, which ended in a shuddering breath. Again? He continued to rub circles with both hands, first on my back, then up and down my arms. The friction of his calloused palms on my heated skin cemented my with both hands, first on my back, then up and down my arms. The friction of his calloused palms on my heated skin centered my attention, brought my thoughts back into focus. A long beat passed. I'm not your responsibility, I said quietly. His ministration ceased, and he leveled a look at me but stayed silent, as if allowing me to finish. Gabe is not a surrogate father. I didn't tell him because if I had, he would have insisted on being here. I don't need him. What do you need, boy? At that moment, a sub approached, who I knew to be Caleb, from when he checked me in and put me on notice, damn it. I don't need him. What do you need, boy? At that moment, a sub approached, who I knew to be Caleb, from when he checked me in and put on my bracelet. Marco stood, and immediately, who I knew to be Caleb, from when he checked me in and put on my bracelet. Marco stood, and Caleb immediately went down on his knees at the master's feet in the most graceful move in order to I don't know why sometimes talking is hard. Who I knew to be Caleb, from when he checked me in and put on my bracelet. Marco stood, and Caleb immediately went down on his knees at the master's feet in the most graceful move in order to present himself as he'd been taught. His back was straight, his head up, but his eyes were lowered. I'd practiced all the positions a dom might ask of his submissive, but to execute them as fluidly as Caleb did was an art. He looked lovely, and yet when I glanced at Marco's eyes, they were narrowed in a kind of disfavor. Marco towered over the slight boy as he placed his hand on top of Caleb's head and pushed down until his chin met his body and his eyes were perpendicular with the floor. Did you not understand your instructions, boy? Yes, master. Repeat them, verbatim. I was to present myself to you in the slave room at 10:30, master. Where did you present yourself? In the libration. Master. Where did you present yourself? In the libation room, master. Marco extended his arm down. What time is it, boy? You may look at my watch. Caleb tilted his head only enough to see the digital numbers. 10:29, Master. How many seconds? 15, Master. You have 45 seconds to present yourself in the slave room where you will take the floor position. As you wait, you will consider why you disobeyed me as well as what your punishment might be. Why you disobeyed me as well as what your punishment might be. Yes, Master. Caleb rose with the same fluid poise and left the bar area without raising his eyes. I stared at his back until he turned the corner at the far end of the room toward what I knew was the hallway that led to the private prey rooms. That would make it a totally different kind of establishment. With the same fluid poise and left the bar area without raising his eyes. With the same fluid poise and left the bar area without raising his eyes. I stared at his back until he turned the corner at the far end of the room toward what I knew was the hallway that led to the private playrooms, several of which had the option for viewing. The slave room was the private playrooms, several of which had the option for viewing. The slave room was one set up with cameras for voyeurs. A pang of envy crept up my spine at the thought of Marco performing a scene with Caleb that ended in him fucking the sub. I had no right to be jealous, but when it came to my infatuation with the Dom, logic wasn't anywhere on my radar. Not even close. Not since I'd laid eyes on... Wasn't anywhere on my radar. Not even close. Not since I'd laid eyes on him 6 years ago for the first time. I was 18 and my father announced to the family that a pastry chef had opened up a patisserie in Pansy Park. Nodo. He was renowned in Beverly Hills for his Italian wedding cake, and now he wanted to make his mark with fancy cookies and bread. Competition, my father declared. So I was set to hate the man, until I caught a glimpse of him in the kitchen when I'd gone to check his place out. Luca. My name was sharp off Marco's tongue, and I jumped in my seat at the sound of it. Luca, settle. I spoke your name twice and you didn't reply. I didn't mean to startle you. I closed my eyes and tried to shake the construct of Marco fucking Caleb from the forefront of my... There's a lot of in that. Twice and you didn't reply. I didn't mean to startle you. I closed my eyes and tried to... Twice and you didn't reply. I didn't mean to startle you. I closed my eyes and tried to shake the construct of Marco fucking Caleb from the forefront of my brain. When I still didn't respond to him, he said, I'm going to call Gabe and tell him to come down. His words cut through my fog. No, I blurted out, and then I said lower, No, sir, I don't need him. He narrowed his gaze, and before he could say anything, he said, No, sir, I don't need him. He narrowed his gaze, and before he said anything else, I added, All this, I waved at where my drink had spilled, was a dumb accident. I swallowed before I lied. I'm fine. He backed away, his demeanor straightening, emboldening if that was even possible.
Emboldening.
That's almost what I said. I swallowed before I lied. I'm fine. He backed away, his demeanor straightening, emboldening. I swallowed before I lied. I'm fine. He backed away, his demeanor straightening, emboldening if that was even possible. He was pure Dom fantasy, and my heart did a double beat. Was pure Dom fantasy, and my heart did a double beat. We're not in a contract, so I can't order you to do anything you don't want to. But if you were, I'd paddle your ass until welts glowed like fire for lying to me. Be that as it may, I'll leave you unscathed, and to your own devices. As he walked away, I turned back to the bar and found Angel smirking as he placed a fresh drink in front of me. What? I bet you're wondering how he knew you lied. As a matter of fact, yes. Any dom worth his salt has an uncanny ability to read a sub's tells. How he knew you lied. As a matter of fact, yes. Any dom worth his salt has an uncanny ability to read a sub's tells. And Master Marco is one of the best. Tells? Angel nodded. Minor behaviors? Even I saw you swallow so hard your Adam's apple popped before you said you were fine. Well, I tend to avert. I saw you swallow so hard your Adam's apple popped before you said you were fine. I tend to avert eye contact, and my voice develops a nervous tremor. After my sir caged my cock for a week and edged me near to my death daily without letting me come, I learned my lesson. Which was, a dom always knows. My lips twitched in a half-smile. Sorry, I don't mean to make fun, but damn, that would be torture. Exactly, he said, then jotted a phone number on a paper napkin and slid it across the bar toward me. In case you ever want to talk, consider me your first friend at hard limit. Thanks, Angel. I slipped the napkin into my jeans pocket. You're welcome. He plucked a towel from his shoulder, wiped the length of bar in front of me, then pulled open a stainless steel bin under the bar top and tossed it in. I'm off now, and my mistress is waiting. But I'll be back on Friday. He gave me the sweetest smile as he exited his station and disappeared into the melange? Melange. He gave me the sweetest smile as he exited his station and disappeared into the and my mistress is waiting. But I'll be back on Friday. He gave me the sweetest smile as he exited his station and my mistress is waiting. But I'll be back on Friday. He gave me the sweetest smile as he exited his station and disappeared into the melange of people. All modes of nakedness and play gear were on display. Libation room was strictly for relaxation, so no straight-out fucking. But in the corner booths I saw subs servicing their doms. But in the corner booths I saw subs servicing their doms. One of them sat back on his heels under the table, his head on his dom's lap, as the sub worshipped his cock like a baby contentedly suckling his mother's tit. His cock like a baby contentedly suckling his mother's tit. The sight caused me to shiver with desire, as I debated whether I wanted to view Marco's scene with Caleb. Despite the internal upstir, my jealousy was sure to arouse. My curiosity prevailed, and I headed for the corridor to the slave room. The curtain for the one-way window was open, and with only a dom and his sub there, I was able to sidle up close for a full view. Marco was glorious in all his gladiatorial exquisiteness. Broad and ripped, his muscles flexed under his harness as he wielded the flogger with perfection. Stripped bare and facing the cross, Caleb's wrists and ankles were handcuffed and he wore a blindfold. He was small and slender, especially in comparison to Marco, but I could see he was toned. He also had a reputation for being able to take a whipping. Marco approached Caleb. He spoke in a low murmur by his ear, then backed away and landed the first lash on the sub's left cheek. The dom began a slow, easy rhythm, alternating cheeks and the tops of his thighs. Alternating was a bit stumbly. Away and landed the first lash on the sub's left cheek. The dom began a slow, easy rhythm, alternating cheeks and the tops of his thighs. He continued for several minutes, with Caleb barely reacting physically. What? You're shaking your head at me. What did I do?
I wasn't shaking my head. Alternating was still a little kind of mushed.
Was it?
But
all right,
it was
do it again.
understandable, at least.
Away and land. I think it must be the accent For some reason, something weird is happening on that, or I could just be bumbling it like an ass. Away and landed the first lash on the sub's left cheek. The Dom began a slow, easy rhythm, alternating cheeks and the tops of his thighs. Yeah, it's this accent. I did bumble it the first time. The second time, though, the T at the end is hit real soft.
I gotcha.
Yeah, easy rhythm, alternating cheeks and the tops of his thighs. It continued for several minutes with Caleb barely reacting physically, although low moans of pleasure fell from his lips as Marco intensified the impact. He put the flogger on the nearby table, where all his implements were laid out, then checked in with Caleb. After hearing, "Green, sir," Marco picked up the single-tail whip and started striping his back. Listening in and watching, felt as if I was inside the room. On a particularly acute strike, I let out a moan in reaction to Caleb's obvious pleasure, the way he squirmed yet begged for more. "Good morning, kitty." Obvious pleasure, the way he squirmed yet begged for more. Obvious pleasure, the way he squirmed yet begged for more. I lost that on the page. There. Obvious pleasure, the way he squirmed yet begged for more. "Would you like to writhe under the flogger, like Caleb?" The question, from a soft, inviting voice, seemingly came out of nowhere. Then a body appeared so close to mine that I felt the heat of skin. I attempted to look over my shoulder, and 2 fingers clasped my chin and turned me back forward. "Listen, take in Caleb's beautiful moans and murmurings. He is erotic under Master Marco's hand, isn't he? He is erotic under Master Marco's hand, isn't he?" I nodded dumbly as my cock swelled, and I licked my lips, as much to moisten them as it was a gesture of yearning. "Do you want to feel the lash of the flogger on your back?" He ran a fingernail lightly along my spine, and my dick leaked pre-cum. I nodded repeatedly like a bobblehead. Then his hand was under the fabric of my top, and he did the same motion, but that time his hand slid to my ass, and he made circles around the contours. "This round ass would look lovely, reddened with my handprints. Would you like that, my beautiful sub?" Intellectually, I knew the use of the possessive pronoun meant nothing, yet I couldn't resist hearing I was somebody's sub, even if it was nothing more than a throwaway endearment. "Yes, sir." "Come with me." Before turning around, I took one last look at Marco as he exchanged the single-tail whip for a paddle. In doing so, he faced the window. He glanced up, and in that instant our gazes somehow connected. I felt a rush of bliss. That was, until Caleb glanced over his shoulder toward Marco, a movement that was a grim reminder he was the sub handcuffed to the cross, not me, and therefore he was Marco's focal point. I dropped my head. From behind me I heard, "Come, my beautiful sub. I want us to have a talk." I followed without a word. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.